Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're taking a really close look at a tiny piece of plastic that honestly almost everyone knows about, but a lot of people still actively avoid out of sheer fear. I mean, credit cards are literally everywhere in our modern world, right? But they definitely carry quite a reputation. So are they a super helpful everyday convenience, or are they a dangerous financial trap? Well, today we're going to unpack exactly how they work and, honestly, more importantly, why they can be incredibly risky if you don't know the rules of the game.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because to really grasp the risks, we have to start at the absolute foundation. We throw the term credit card around all the time, but how do these little pieces of plastic actually function? And here's a question that consumers almost always overlook. How in the world do banks make so much money off of them, especially when they're constantly throwing free flights at us just to sign up?
So here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to start with the credit card illusion, move on to the mechanics of borrowing, uncover the bank's profit machine, look at the perks of the plastic, tackle the risks of credit, and then finally wrap up with our verdict, tool or trap.
All right, Section 1, the credit card illusion. Buy today, pay later. You know, there is a massive psychological trick at play here. Think about it. When you use cash or a debit card, you're using your own money immediately. You physically feel the loss of those funds right away. But with a credit card, you're temporarily using money provided by the issuer. Let that sink in for a second. It is not your money. This illusion of wealth is actually your very first step into potential financial risk. When you swipe, you're not really paying, you are borrowing.
Moving right along to Section 2, the mechanics of borrowing. Let's look behind the swipe.
And this brilliantly illustrates the invisible transaction taking place. Imagine you go out and buy an $800 laptop. Step 1, you take the computer home. Step 2, the bank pays the store on your behalf, right then and there. Step 3, you now owe the bank $800. The store is perfectly happy, right? They got paid immediately. But your financial relationship is now entirely with the bank.
Now, the really crucial point is, what happens when that bill actually comes due? You hit a major fork in the road here. If you take the clear path and pay the full amount before the due date, you usually won't pay a single dime in interest. The loan was basically free. But if you take the other path and pay only a partial balance, the remaining amount immediately starts to accrue interest. And that is exactly where the cost of borrowing begins to silently chain you down.
Before we talk about how that interest can spiral, we really need to define a critical term you'll see on your statement, the credit limit. This is the absolute maximum amount of money you're allowed to borrow using the card at any given time. Think of it as a hard ceiling on your purchasing power, and it stays perfectly in place until you repay part of the balance to free up some space.
Let's anchor that concept with a solid number, say $2,000. If this is your approved limit, you cannot spend a single penny more than $2,000. If you try to swipe your card for $2,001, denied. It's a really strict boundary set by the bank to manage their own risk, essentially keeping a firm leash on exactly how much of their money you can hold at once.
Which brings us to Section 3, the bank's profit machine. Exactly how banks make their money. Just take a look at these income sources. Banks rake in money through interest on unpaid balances, annual fees for holding premium cards, late payment fees, and fees paid by the merchants just for processing the transactions. Do you notice a bit of a revealing pattern here? While merchant fees and annual fees are just standard operating costs, the massive revenue from interest and late fees is heavily reliant on user mistakes. The bank's profit machine is actively fueled by consumers who stumble into the trap of carrying a balance, or worse, missing a monthly deadline. All right, Section 4, perks of the plastic, the real advantages of these cards. Now, we have to admit there are undeniable benefits on the table here. Beyond the totally seamless convenience of cashless online shopping, these cards offer really robust fraud protection. They basically act as a shield if your data gets stolen. Plus, if you use them responsibly, it unlocks perks like travel points, cashback, and honestly, perhaps most importantly, building a positive credit history, which you're definitely going to need for securing life's bigger purchases down the road.
Next up, Section 5, the risks of credit. What happens when things go wrong?
So, the crucial point is that it all comes down to a very fragile balancing act. On one side, you have those super enticing perks we just talked about, convenience, rewards, protection. But weighing really heavily against them are the massive risks, debt growth via interest, and those punishing late fees. The very second you spend more than you can realistically repay, the scales tip entirely, and debt can just spiral rapidly out of control. You really need to keep this stark reality in mind. Debt grows so fast because of interest and fees. Remember our refrain from earlier? It is not your money. Every single time you let a balance roll over to the next month, you are personally fueling the bank's profit machine. Thanks to compounding interest, you aren't just paying for that laptop anymore. You are paying a massive premium just for the privilege of taking too long to pay the bank back.
And finally, Section 6, Final Verdict. Is it a tool or a trap? Let's talk about making smarter decisions.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly it sums things up. Our sources boil this entire complex system down to one profound statement. A credit card is a financial tool, not free money. Period. When you use it wisely, paying off your balance in full every month, it's remarkably convenient. But the moment you treat it like an extension of your paycheck, it becomes painfully expensive. Honestly, understanding these raw mechanics is absolutely your best defense against the risks.
So I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative question to chew on. Are you using your credit card, or is your credit card using you? I highly encourage you to take a hard look at your own financial habits and really review your statements. The risks of borrowing the bank's money are incredibly real, and safely navigating them requires serious focus and discipline. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay focused, and I'll see you next time.